Hi there everyone, I'm the Nature Guy and I'm here in front of the Nature Center at Camp Ausable. And today I would like to talk to you about wasps. Actually more about wasp nests. Now we're all pretty familiar with wasps. They're yellow and black and they're different from a bee. They're not a honeybee or a bumblebee. Actually honeybees and bumblebees collect nectar and make honey for food. Wasps eat other insects. So they're pretty aggressive. The type of wasp I want to talk about is the paper wasp. And you've probably seen their round nests around hanging from a roof or a shed. I've got one here that's was hanging on a branch. You can see it's kind of round and it's very kind of soft and papery. And this is the nest that they build as a colony. They all work together on it to build their nest. Now, it's hard to tell what's inside this nest because it's covered over and there's only just a little hole in the bottom for them to get in. So I have another nest and it's been cut in half so that you can see the inside. And inside you can see the layers and layers of little cells that they build, that they lay their eggs in. So it starts at the top and they build a layer and then they build a next layer, kind of like an apartment, and they keep building layers. And each one of these layers, if you look down inside, you can see they're full of little compartments called cells. And this is where the eggs are laid. So each little cell is a hexagon, and hexagon has 6 sides. And so the side of one is the side of another, and they're just built round, up against each other. That makes for a very strong, it's pretty tough stuff. It's a very strong material. And in that hexagon, they lay their egg and they put some food. So maybe an insect, a dead insect inside there. So when the eggs hatch in the cells actually covered over when they're in there. They eat the insect, they grow into an adult, and they burst out as a full adult wasp. Now, who makes all these cells? Well, that's some of the workers. They make they work very well at making these cells together, and they line them up. And I don't know how they decide when it's the time for a next row or not. But they make this thing out of wood. So they chew little pieces of wood all up, and they add some saliva or spit to it to make it kind of gooey, and that's what they use to build all of these structures. And once the whole thing is built and it's full of eggs, the eggs have to be at a pretty constant temperature, and the larvae when they grow up before they're adults. And so what they do is they cover the whole thing with this papery stuff. And it is kind of very much like paper. It's very fibrous. It's made of wood, just like paper is made of wood fibers. And they coat the whole thing in layers, and that acts like insulation. So it doesn't get too cold at night and it doesn't get too hot in the day. And so little baby wasps can grow in there and hatch out and fly off and form a new colony somewhere. So these nests are really amazing feats of architecture made out of wood and basically ground up to make paper, and that's why we call it a paper wasp. Kind of soft on the outside for insulation, but inside it's pretty tough, and that works really well for them. Now, the largest paper wasp nest that we know of was 12 feet tall and 18 feet around. That's a huge nest. That's a lot of wasps. Normally they're maybe a few inches to maybe a foot or two, but some of them can get really, really large. So what's the lesson we can learn about paper wasps? Well, they work together. They work in what we call a colony. That's their society, and they do all the work, plan it. There's a queen that lays the eggs and workers and those that defend the nest. They all have different jobs. And humans have colonies too. We don't tend to call it colonies. We sometimes call it a family, or we might have a community that's like our neighborhood, and we work together to keep it a safe and quiet place. We have a church community. We have a school community. There's all sorts of different communities that we belong to. And so the wasps remind us that we need to do our part and do it right. And together we can do much more than we can do as an individual. That's it for today. Talk to you next time. Bye now.